Good evening, everybody. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Somerville Planning Board on September 7th, 2023 at 6:05 p.m. I'm Mike Capuano. I'm the chairman of the Planning Board. With me tonight is Jahan Habib, Michael McNeely, and Luke Schuster. By that record, we do have a quorum of the Planning Board. Later this evening, in about 23 minutes or so, we will have a recess from the planning board, and we will convene as a joint hearing with the land use committee on a separate link on I think now a different platform. And when that is done, depending on the time, we will reconvene as the planning board to potentially take up either continued or do further business. So with that in mind, pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting of the Somerville Planning Board is conducted via remote participation. An audio recording of these proceedings will be available by using the registration link once the meeting has concluded. So we have a number of items on our agenda tonight, above and beyond the land use stuff. And the land use stuff will be read into the record when we convene as the joint hearing. But for the purpose of the planning board, our agenda is a number of meeting minutes for October 13th, 2022, June 1st, 2023, June 20th, 2023, and August 3rd, 2023. We have two agenda items that will be or have requested continuances. One has been previously opened, that's 620 Broadway, has requested a continuance to October 5th, 2023. The chair moves to continue that agenda item to October 5th, seconded by Jahan. Raisa, could you call the roll?
This is Raisa speaking. Michael Capuano.
Aye.
Jahan Habib.
Aye.
Michael McNeely.
Aye.
Luke Schuster.
Aye.
That agenda item has been continued. We do have an agenda item that needs to be opened, but they have also requested a continuance, and that's 45 Mystic Avenue. So our previous clerk has resigned from the planning board, and so we are currently absent a clerk, but in the absence of a clerk, I will read into the record the notice of public hearing. 45 Mystic Avenue, case planning and zoning 22-059. Mystic 45 Development LLC proposes a master plan for a lab building and a pocket plaza in the Assembly Square mixed-use district, which requires a special permit. That applicant has requested continuance to the 21st of September 2023. So with that in mind, the chair moves to continue that agenda item to the 21st, seconded by Jahan. If I could ask Raisa to call the roll.
This is Raisa speaking. Michael Capuano.
Aye.
Jahan Habib.
Aye.
Michael McNeely.
Actually, you know what, Raisa, could I do see a raised hand from Attorney Ann Vigorito, who I think she may represent this applicant. And before we conclude the vote to continue it, I just want to confirm that Attorney Vigorito does in fact represent the applicant, and if she wants to address the planning board.
This is Raisa speaking. Anne, you have been unmuted. You may be self-muted on your end.
Thank you, Raisa. Thank you, Chairman Capuano. I was just raising my hand just to make sure the continuance was happening because the client was very concerned. They've got to get into a redesign. So I think it's going to be on September 21st, but we'll know more in the next 10 days. Thank you so much.
And Attorney Vigorito, if you and your client need a further continuance, you are always welcome to request.
Absolutely. I you know, that's something they want to get this right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
With that done, we're mid-vote, but I will remove to continue this to the 21st. Seconded by Jahan. Raisa, please call the roll.
Michael Capuano,
Aye.
Jahan Habib,
Aye.
Michael McNeely,
Aye.
Luke Schuster.
We have another few items on our agenda that are hearings that need to be opened. One is 7 Washington Street, Planning and Zoning 21-147, Washington Dev 2 LLC proposes to develop a 4-story net zero ready apartment building and establish a household living principal use in the mid-rise 4 zoning district, which requires site plan approval and 1 special permit for the household living use. We also have 394 McGrath Highway, which is ZP23, that's a new one to me, 000036. Sugarloaf Development seeks a major amendment to a previously granted site plan approval, which was P&Z 21-122 for an apartment building in the MR4 zoning district. Those cases will likely be brought up to the extent that we have time under the planning board's rules and regs. After the land use committee, we may open one tonight and start hearing it, but because these were both noticed for tonight, I wanted to make sure that the record was formally opened for those 2 cases. We are not taking them up quite yet because we do have 4 items of general business, which are approval of meeting minutes. And we also need to talk about who might be our new clerk. Looking at you, my friend. So what I'd like to do first is bring up the draft meeting minutes of October 13, 2022. Does anybody have any suggested revisions or suggestions for the meeting minutes of that? Okay. Seeing none, the chair moves to approve the draft meeting minutes of October 13th, 2022 as the final meeting minutes of the planning board, seconded by Jahan. Raisa, can you please call the roll?
Michael Capuano,
Aye.
Jahan Habib,
Aye.
Michael McNeely,
Aye.
Luke Schuster.
Okay, we have meeting minutes for that date. Next is June 1st, 2023. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add, revise, discuss about these meeting minutes? Seeing none, the chair moves to adopt these draft meeting minutes as the final meeting minutes of the planning board, seconded by Jahan. Raisa, can you please call the roll?
Michael Capuano,
Aye.
Jahan Habib,
Aye.
Michael McNeely,
Aye.
Luke Schuster.
We have meeting minutes for that date. Next is July 20th, 2023. Does anybody have any suggested revisions or amendments or anything they'd like to discuss about those? Okay, seeing none, the chair moves to adopt those draft meeting minutes as the final meeting minutes of the planning board, seconded by Jahan. Raisa, please call the roll.
Michael Capuano,
Aye.
Jahan Habib,
Aye.
Michael McNeely,
Aye.
Luke Schuster.
Those meeting minutes are adopted. Next is August 3rd, 2023. Does anybody have anything they would like to discuss, revise, edit for these meeting minutes? Seeing none, the chair moves to adopt these draft meeting minutes as the final meeting minutes of the planning board, seconded by Jahan. Could I have the roll call, please?
This is Raisa speaking. Michael Capuano,
Aye.
Jahan Habib,
Aye.
Michael McNeely,
Aye.
Luke Schuster.
We have meeting minutes. Next up is we need to fill the role of clerk of the planning. With Erin's resignation, we have a vacancy for that role, not in her enormous role as a substantial and valuable member of the planning board, but in her role exclusively as clerk. So I would like to have any discussion if anybody would like to be clerk of the planning board. In fact, actually, we've had a determination by the law department that alternates cannot be elected members of the planning board. We've had that discussion kind of earlier. I think it was either this year or last year. So we've got kind of a limited pool of folks from whom we can choose. But to be perfectly frank, I know Jahan's been a valuable member of the board for a number of years, and you kind of know how stuff works at this point. And you've been our representative to the CPC, at least on one go around, maybe multiple. So we put you through your paces. And so with that in mind, I would like to nominate Jahan to be the clerk of the planning board to fill out the remainder of Erin's term.
I'll second.
A second from Michael. Any other nominations for clerk? Because Michael, you're the only one that right now can hold that position. And with a second, I'm guessing you're not going to nominate yourself.
No, thank you.
Raisa, could I please have a roll call vote on the nomination of Jahan for clerk?
Michael Capuano,
Aye.
Michael McNeely,
Aye.
Luke Schuster,
Aye.
Jahan should also be called for a vote. He is entitled to vote.
Shahan Habib.
So I will abstain.
With 3 votes in favor and 1 abstention, as a gentleman will, we have a new clerk of the planning board. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and to all board members. It's an honor and privilege to serve, and I hope I don't let anyone down here.
You know, your literacy speaks volumes.
Thank you.
So we have, I'm looking at my clock now, it's 6:18. We have 12 minutes between now and when the joint hearing with the land use committee needs to convene. And we have 2 cases that are going to be before us potentially tonight. Again, as a reminder, that's 7 Washington Street and 394 McGrath Highway. So we have about 10 minutes, and I'm wondering if it makes sense to have, I don't know how many folks are in the audience who are intending to speak on these cases for the introduction of public testimony versus who's involved with the applicant. Will just be part of the presentation. What I think I want to do is take 7 Washington Street and have a brief just discussion with them to see if 10 minutes is enough time for them to at least make their presentation, or if they would just like to reconvene at the conclusion of the joint hearing, because we're in this weird place where we're going to start a case and have to stop it in the middle, irrespective of what we do. So I don't know who the representative of the applicant for 7 Washington Street is, but if they could please be unmuted so we can just have an idea of what the logistics could look like tonight.
Good evening, Chairman Capuano. It's actually Attorney Ann Vigorito from 424 Broadway. So, you know, I'm going to be very brief with my synopsis. This is a small project. It's 10 units. So why don't I just introduce the team and let our architect get right into the plans, because you gentlemen are all, you know, up to speed. You know about these cases. So as I said, Ann Vigorito, I'm the attorney. Peter Kokoris, who is the applicant owner of WashDev 2 LLC. Our architects tonight are Alberto Cabre and Matt Drossmer of Joe the Architect. And our landscape architect, Andrea Fossa, and engineer is Brian Tim. So as I said, it's an MR4 zoning district. 10 units are being proposed. 2 good neighborhood meetings. UDC gave some recommendations. I'm not going to babble on. I want to hand it right off to our architect because we have 9 valuable minutes. So that being said, off to the architects. And if you need me, I'm here.
Thank you.
This is Rice speaking.
Right.
Alberto.
Yeah, share anybody's screen who needs it.
Okay. This is Rice speaking. Alberto, I am making you into a presenter. Please, you should be able to share your screen now.
Good evening, everyone. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So quickly, but it's conceived. It's only 10 units. We are an MR4. Everything is by right. We're just only the use is basically what we are requesting of special permit. Basically, just to give you, we have MR4, 2 feet of setback on the front. The sidewalk is already 12 feet outside of our property. 0 setbacks on the side of the building, and then 10 feet on the rear of the building. We have a basement level in which we have mechanical, some storage for the unit, and then there is 1 unit that is a 3-bedroom that is on the rear of the building that get back of the backyard, get use of that back there on the back, and then 2 stairs. There is non elevator building, so basically it's a 4-story no elevator unit. We enter on the left side. That is the frontage entrance to the street. We are elevated because we are required to be 2 feet above sidewalk level. So that is the first level, is 2 feet above sidewalk, with a studio unit on the front and the 3-bedroom unit that have 2 bedrooms on the lower level and 1 bedroom on the upper level. We have also a transformer unit on the front of the building, inside the building, just a bolt, just to get the transformer electrical requirement by Eversource. And also we have our permanent bike storage on the ground level. On the second level, we have a mix of 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms on the back, 1 bedrooms on the front of the building, and they stagger. So the 3rd floor is 2 bedrooms on back and front, and then the 4th floor is 2 bedrooms on the front, 1 bedroom on the back. So the total of 10 units, 1 studio, 4 1-bedroom, 4 2-bedrooms, and 1 3-bedrooms unit. The total area is 10,500 square feet. We're only using 68% of the lot, and will be net zero. We will be certified by FIHOS through passing housing certification. So that's the process to get net zero. Elevation, this is the front elevation, brick on the base of the building with the left entrance. You can see that on the left is the entrance, there is the transformer, there are unit windows, and then there is the second egress to the sidewalk on the right side, and then 3 stories of residential above that with cementitious board. Try to break the building in a way that creates some kind of interesting volume to the street. We also have a roof garden on the top for the common use of all the units. Site elevation, we have a blank wall, but we have a parking lot right now, so we're trying just to do something that's still interesting. Doesn't matter that if something get built, that's the party wall in between the buildings. Rear of the building, there's the rear of the building. The unit has some balconies on that area. On the back of the building, you can see that the unit step back. This is the private terrace for the lower unit area. And then the other side, that is just a blank wall because of the party wall. We are 46 feet from the sidewalk because of 44 really from the 2 feet up to the top of the roof. And then we have a stair that goes to the common area, garden area, going up to the roof. More sidewalk, more sections explain the whole thing, and then the 3D renderings that you can see. This is on the left. We have right now a parking area on the right side, there is a one-story building, and then you can see how the building gets broken up, creating a little bit of interest in just where the element of the entrance of the building is, and then having the green roof on the top for the uses of the tenant, of the owners. And with that, more views back and front of the building. Basically, it's all textures of different cementitious materials to create different textures on the facade and then brick. Shadow study. And then, Brian, do you want to say something about the civil drawings?
This is Raisa speaking. Brian, you should be unmuted. You may be self-muted on your end.
Yes, I'm sorry. I mean, that was like ideal timing. I literally just had to jump into my car and had to switch over to my hands-free. Apologize for that. So, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. If you're
Oh,
in your
yes,
car and going on audio, yes.
yes. So, from a site civil perspective, there's really not a lot of site civil that is involved with this other than we do have utilities available in Washington Street. There is sewer, there is water. We will be able to connect that. We also are doing what we can with drainage. We realize we're going to need to manage any of the stormwater runoff. So we have identified areas for both, stormwater collection from the roof, as well as some strategically placed area drains that will go to some dry wells as well. There is no parking. There is no parking. There is no associated with this, so there is no traffic management plan or anything to that nature. And I believe we do have some bike storage as well on the site, so that is part of the proposal as well.
All right, so I'm going to transfer to Andrea Fossa, that is landscapes, to go over her drawings. Right, so if you can unmute Andrea.
This is Raisa speaking. Andrea Fossa, you should be unmuted.
Hello. So I'll quickly go through these drawings. The first page is just a little bit of site context of where we are on Washington Street and some views of the existing building. As we go to the next slide, we are preserving the existing Zelkova, and you can see the tree protection fence detail that we work with the city that will be used throughout construction. Next slide. So starting at Washington Street, we have a concrete pavement that matches the scoring along Washington Street, and we have an expanded tree planter for the Zelkova with native grass plantings that are low to account for the utilities along the streetscape, with 2 City of Somerville standard bike racks. Along the frontage of the building, we have a mix of evergreen and deciduous plantings and shrubs, and permeable unit pavers at the thresholds of the building. As we move to the rear of the building, we have a 6-foot height privacy fence along the property line with a permeable unit patio that can be used for the tenants. As we move down, we have egress stairs to a lower patio level, and it leads you to the basement level patio that also has permeable unit pavers. To provide some interest, we have a stepped terrace with walls and tall deciduous columnar trees with mixed shade tolerant plantings. As we move to the next slide, we have as Alberto mentioned, a a roof level terrace, which is wood decking, cable rail guardrail, and then planters positioned along the outside with tall ornamental grasses and flowering trees to provide seasonal interest. We also have 2 outdoor grills for the units. As we move to the next slide, we have just image board showing the permeable unit pavers and then the various plantings, evergreen and deciduous ornamental grasses that we are proposing for the project. And then just to show, we have the planting details, pavement details that comply with the city's standards and our green score. And then the last slide is our tree planter and decorative planter on pedestals that will be used for the roof level. And that's it.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
One thing that I forgot to say is that we have 2 affordable units as part of the program.
Thank you. I appreciate the presentation. It is 6:32. So what I'd like to do right now is put the planning board in recess until the conclusion of the joint hearing with the land use committee. And then when that is concluded, we will take this project back up to have a discussion and take public testimony and see where we are following that to see if we will take up the second case this evening, or if that case will be moved to the meeting on the 21st. So, Raisa, if you could please put us in recess. Planning board is about to reconvene on, I think it's maybe the Zoom platform now, for the land use committee, and I hope and pray that sometime soon the planning board gets off of this platform, because there are others out there that are slightly more usable. All right, thank you all. See you in some period of time. Planning board is now reconvened solely as the planning board. Risa, I think you need to elevate me to be a, whatever I need to be.
This is Risa speaking. Michael, you are now an organizer.
Remaining with us is the clerk, Jahan Habib, Michael McNeely, Luke Schuster, and I am Mike Capuano, chairman of the planning board. We remain in a quorum. We were previously discussing, before we had to switch out to joint hearing, the application at 7 Washington Street. So if we can have that applicant rejoin us, they just concluded their presentation by the time we recessed.
This is Risa speaking. I do see Anne's hand raised. Would you like to recognize her at this time?
Absolutely.
This is Risa speaking. Anne, you are unmuted.
Thank you, Raisa. Good evening, all. The team is back, so if you'd like to, just have your discussion, we're here ready to answer all questions and concerns, hopefully.
Thank you. Before I make any points, I'm going to open it up to public testimony, but I want to know if anybody on the planning board has any comments or questions of the applicant or of staff at this point before we open it up. Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to open up this public hearing for members of the public that want to testify in support of this application. Please exercise the raise hand button and I'll call on you in the order in which I see you. I see Tori. Anything else?
This is Risa speaking. Tori, you have been unmuted. You are self-muted on your end.
Hi, Tori Antonino, 65 Boston Street. Because I was at land use and because there was a break, I have no idea what this item is. Could that be repeated? Is that possible? I don't want to mess up your rules, but what's the item? Who's the applicant?
Tori, as you know, this is public testimony. So this isn't a question and answer quite yet, but we will respond when testimony is closed. Anybody else want to be recognized in public testimony on this item? Please raise your hand to speak in support of the application. Seeing none, I will close this portion of the public hearing and open it up to anybody that wants to speak in opposition to this application or otherwise express concern. Please raise your hand. I'll call on you. I do see no hands raised at this point. So at this time, I'm going to close that portion of the public hearing and take it up by discussion by members of the planning board. We will be leaving the written comment open for this application until September 15th at noon for written comments to be submitted to planning@somervillema.gov. To respond to Tori's question, the land use committee was convened in a joint hearing at 6:30. The planning board had its own meeting that began at 6 o'clock where we took up certain items on our agenda. This particular application is one for a for apartment building on 7 Washington Street, which is over by the Holiday Inn. The applicant had made a presentation. All of that will be available on the city website if it's not already. And so because of the nature of the joint hearing, kind of coming right in the middle of our meeting, this item was put in recess after the presentation, and that's why we're taking it up again now after the joint hearing had been concluded. So if I could ask the applicant to please have a screen share so that people can take a look at the visualization again, because I think that would help me as well to see it again.
This is Raisa speaking. Alberto, you were originally the presenter. Would you like to be the presenter again? Alberto, you've been unmuted on your end. This is Raisa speaking. I'm not sure if Alberto is at the meeting currently.
And can we get, I see Matt Drosselmeyer's hand raised. I don't know if he is a
Matt.
applicant team.
Chairman Capuano, Matt also works at Alberto. He stepped away and Matt can handle it.
Great.
This is
Matt,
Raisa
there a way
speaking. This is Raisa speaking. Matt, you have been promoted to a presenter. You are now able to share your screen.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yep, but the screen that we see is the login screen for go to webinar. We don't see the rendering. That looks like it. Okay. So I would like to recognize my fellow members to ask any questions or make any comments that they have before I do, because I have a few, but I'd like to hear what they have to say first if they have thoughts. Okay. I have a few. No, I see Michael, so let me recognize you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I was trying to be courteous to my colleagues and go last. Coming on the heels of an interesting conversation over at the Land Use Committee, obviously we're very focused on environmental sustainability. And I noticed in the narrative, there were some comments about solar and storage both being on site. Could the applicant elaborate a little bit more about that design and just kind of confirm that it's going to be part of this application?
Yes, so we are going through a FIA certification process to be a net zero ready building.
Okay, but does that specifically include energy storage and solar generation on site, or is that just part of the scoring and things might shift left and right along the way?
That's part of the scoring. We don't have any solar generation. We do have the transformer alcove room on the ground floor level.
Okay, I see in your narrative, you specifically identify site design systems, the last chunk of bullets, on-site renewable generation and on-site energy storage. Are you saying that that's not correct?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we will have on-site renewable energy storage, but no solar panels on the building.
Okay. Could you elaborate a little bit more on what the renewable generation is then?
The renewable generation would be the passive house strategy that we're looking at with the facade of the building and the FIA certification to the building.
Okay. That's all I have for now, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thanks, Michael. I see Jahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a brief question for the applicant. First of all, I do appreciate the inclusion of affordable housing units. I noted that the building is non-elevator, and I'm just curious about how the applicant is looking to support accessibility for either for the residents of the affordable housing or even non-affordable housing units in this space. So I'd love to hear more thoughts about that.
So the 2 accessible units that we're holding at the building are on the ground floor. That would be the studio unit, and then the 3-level unit that goes from the basement to the first floor. And we would look to add a stair wheelchair lift to make that unit accessible.
Thank you for the response, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
So I have a couple of comments. The first is I'm generally supportive of this building. I think it's a positive use for a kind of a small site in an area that we're looking to develop some more residential. So I think this is a good location for a small apartment building like this. I also think I take a lot of heart in the fact that you've added a pretty healthy unit size mix rather in the proposal that you've given to us. I think you have at least a few 2 bedrooms, and I think, tell me if I'm wrong, it's one of the 3 bedrooms is going to be on the first floor. Is that what I recall from your application?
Yeah, that's correct. The 3-bedroom is on the first floor, and then conjoined with the basement level as well.
So I've seen a lot of applications come before this planning board over the last however many years that I've been here, and this is one of the very, very few 3-bedroom units that I've seen proposed. So I just want to give you some props for that. We really do need some more truly family-sized housing, and usually when people say that, they say we have 2 bedrooms plus a den. It's like, okay, fine. But a 3-bedroom really does kind of speak to some of the need that we have. I know that you're also not proposing any parking on site, and I think you are still subject to the standard planning board condition of if you're not going to be proposing parking on site, then your residents won't get parking stickers to try to make sure that we keep that stasis. So I think that's very good. Can I go back to the exterior of the building? Some of the materiality just looks a little odd to me. I'm wondering if you might be able to explain what materials you intend to use on the outside of the building. It just looks kind of like aluminum and maybe a little bit out of place.
Matt, I can answer that if you guys are listening. This is Alberto again. Sorry, my computer was not responding. So there are 3 different materials there. So we're putting the brick in the bottom, the base, just to give that sense of rusticness and part of the vocabulary of the history of that area, just the brick buildings. And then we're using 2 different cementitious product materials in different sizes to create textures. So there is no metal panels. It's all cementitious panels in 2 different ways, just to create the cladding of the building. So one is very small, more look like wood cladding, but in reality is cement board product. That is the one that is the dark volume, and then the white volume are the bigger panel that is just trying to create the the gestures or the bigger scale for those panels.
Do you have any closer images of any of the materials, or am I just looking at, because for me, it helps when I actually get to see what the material is going to look like close up instead of just kind of from afar, if you've got them.
Right now in the presentation, we don't have the materials. We had it in the presentation that we submit to the Urban Design Committee, and they requested also as part of their proposal that we need to submit samples of the product before we submit for building permit.
Okay. What I'll ask from you then, because we're not going to take a vote on this tonight, I've left the written comment open for another week, so we'll take you up again on our meeting on the 21st. I will ask that when we reconvene, if you might be able to have a couple of slides showing what the materiality will be, just so I have a better understanding of what it will look like up close instead of across the street.
Chairman.
Sure, I think that is also right. I think that's also part of the submission for the planning board under the Urban Design Commission. There is the package that we submit to them that have those that we can bring to the next meeting.
Right, I would appreciate that. Those are my thoughts. I am curious to know, and I think you might have a more complete answer at the next meeting. I'm not going to speak for Michael, but I don't feel completely comfortable with some of the response. Maybe it's my lack of depth of knowledge of the issue, but he had asked about what energy was going to be stored on the building, and I think the response was passive house. Frankly, I don't know what that means. I don't know what energy is being created instead of it just energy that's not being given off. So if somebody might be able to educate me a little bit, either tonight or in a few weeks, I think that would be helpful for the way I view it. Unless Michael can tell me right now, and it sounds like you might either be satisfied or know what you're talking about more than I do on this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak again to this. To kind of elaborate on my line of questioning here, you know, as I was reviewing this application earlier, I got a little bit concerned about some of the details. You highlighted some of the same concerns I had around details around the outside of the building and the materials used and things like that. But I also was concerned about, you know, the possibility of us kind of just using a few buzzwords around, you know, things being renewable and clean and not really having the details behind the systems there. And I agree, Mr. Chair, that I don't know if I got a satisfactory answer there. And it's okay if we don't have that tonight, but I think having a little more detail around that would be helpful for me. Thank you for bringing that issue up again.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a great. Can I answer, Mr. Shrek? And just I think it's a great point. I think that the process, everything is on the table on the process of creating the net zero process. To start and get here, we file the project under the FISUS passive house process to get into the approval process to get here. Then the consultant for passive house will start working with us to develop all those systems to get to the point that we get certified before special building permit get submitted. So there is a lot of stuff that can be in that project. If we can store energy, that will be one of the issues that we will bring into it. If we can use green energy bought by Eversource into the transformer and bring into the building, that would be another way to understand green energy. That doesn't have to be stored. It's just how do we buy the energy into the building. It's a very small site, so we're trying just to do the best that we can just to get it net zero and FISUS approved and certified to the best of the capability of the project.
Okay. Can I ask one more? Thank you. I appreciate that response. It educates me a little bit more about how you've interpreted the statement that was made in your written submission. I know that our vice chair, Amelia, is not with us tonight. So I'm going to play the role of Amelia real quickly because I know some of the things that she tends to ask about and care about. And one of the things that I think it's valuable, but particularly because you don't have parking on site, I'm wondering if you can go back to the loading, because it's now been a little while since we saw the presentation. Specifically speak to the loading and delivery aspect of how this will work on Washington Street.
Yeah, so unloading and loading and unloading is going to be difficult. Basically, it will be something that everyone have to ask for a permit to the city to get parked in front of the building for a certain time of direction. The majority of the stuff can happen on the back road. If it is not permitted at that time, can be just getting some parking spot on the back, on the side road on Burn, because it's very close to the corner. To get that service of unloading big packages. But there is basically that there was at the beginning when we started the project a couple of years ago. This has been a project that has been already through a couple of years of this process. There was a MBTA bus stop in front of the property. That bus stop had been moved out of the front of the property already before this project goes. So that is give us a lot more flexibility in that sense.
Okay, because you don't own, I'm looking at the series of
No,
slides. Yeah, you don't own that parking lot next to you, obviously. That's
Nope.
the professional building next door.
Yep. Well, the left side or the right side, it was the kitchen place, and then the left is the parking lot owned by someone else.
So it's my only, not my only concern, but my primary concern, I think it, is something that's certainly been raised by my colleague Amelia and some other colleagues as well in different projects, is if we're looking at doing a pickup, drop off, and loading in the front of the building where that bus stop you said was. How is that street currently laid out? Is it? I'm trying to think. I think it's just 2 lanes of traffic, but I don't know if it's going to be redesigned to have some sort of a bike lane or a bus lane or something like that. I'm just wondering if we're going to start impeding other modes of traffic by not necessarily having a sufficient place for people to get picked up, dropped off, have an Amazon truck dropped off. If we're thinking about redoing that portion of the street, this is something that we've seen on a different project on Broadway that's currently in kind of in limbo right now, as well as a couple of other projects that we've seen, particularly if that parking lot isn't yours. Other projects have had some sort of an underground driveway with a curb cut, and it doesn't look like what you've got.
No, right now we don't have any land just to do anything. It's just basically street frontage.
Okay.
This is Raisa speaking. I do see a Brian Tim, who's part of the applicant team, who has his hand raised.
Okay, I would love to hear some of that, because we would not be looking at this if Mobility hadn't reviewed the application and made a recommendation. So I'd like to maybe speak to that as well.
This is Raisa speaking again. Brian, you are unmuted.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, board. This is a late night for us all. I appreciate everything you're doing here.
It is a very late night. So this is what happens when you get scheduled on a joint hearing night.
I hear you. And with the NFL opening night tonight, it's got to be killing some of you, right? So as the site civil engineer, as you brought that question up, Mr. Chair, I took a quick look at the street view of Washington Street. And again, I'm not sure it's 100% accurate of what's out there today. I understand there's a lot of construction going on, but historically, from our site, you had the sidewalk. So the building's right up against the property line. Then you have a cement concrete sidewalk. And then there is that the bus lane, if you will, or almost like a parallel parking space. It almost looks like 7 feet in width. Then you had a striped bike lane that was out there. And then you have the 2 lanes of traffic, one going in either direction. What also might be important to know here, in good or bad, and I'm not a traffic engineer, but I'm a site civil engineer. You do have a traffic light here, which, I think would help the situation as well, where you don't just have cars flying by all the time. I think it's slower movement because you do have a traffic light. I don't know, Alberto, if you have control of the screen here and maybe be able to bring up a street view just to help everybody see it online here.
But you have control of the presentation, and you just look for the straight view of the.
But honestly, as you mentioned, this is a small site, right? It is on a more urban road than most properties throughout Somerville, Cambridge, Boston, where you do have the loading issues. I completely understand what you're saying. I just don't know that we have the real estate to put in a pull-off loading area, drive under garage, what have you. I think, as Alberto shows you here, this will kind of, hopefully, what I just tried to describe verbally is what you're seeing here. So essentially that timber retaining wall is the front property line. Then you do have the, let's call it a 7 to 8 foot wide sidewalk there. That's all the public property that would remain. You can see the bus lane, and further down towards the lights, you see a kind of a jut out from that sidewalk. So you're not gonna, it's almost a natural pull off over there as is. And as Alberto mentioned, that bus stop's gone. So I'm not really sure what the plans are in that area right now. Whether, Alberto, what's look behind us? Is there parallel parking?
That is the side building parking, and then yes, the sidewalk increased further and before the corner of the intersection. So, and I think if we look to the other side, I think there is street parking in front of the buildings to the right of the building.
And honestly, we understand, we'd have to go in front of the Parking and Traffic Control Commission to make this a loading area. But my point is, I think there's enough space there to accommodate this type of loading zone, if you will. And I think it would be, a benefit to the neighborhood. Like you said, it's a place that needs this small multifamily development. And with that comes Amazon trucks, comes, movers, moving vans, and things like that. So it's definitely an urban situation, and I think we have enough real estate to make it work here.
Okay. Thanks for actually bringing up the street view. I think that's helpful. The way I'm looking at it now is there's a lane of travel, there's a painted bike lane, and then what looks like what was a dedicated bus stop, which I presume would have to be wide enough to hold a bus. So with that bus stop gone, do we know what that actually is? Is that just nothing, or is that just street parking?
Right now, we don't know exactly. I don't know. I cannot answer a question right now. I think they still say bus stop, but doesn't matter that there is not a bus stop.
Right. Okay.
I believe
My thought is, and maybe I would ask if staff might be able to just confer with mobility on this. If that space is currently kind of vacant and it's wide enough to hold a bus, I feel like it's dodgeball. If you can fit a bus, you can fit a car. But if you can fit a bus there, you can fit an Uber pickup or drop off, or you can fit an Amazon truck for 2 seconds. So it's not going to be sitting around impeding the flow of traffic. I think that's kind of where my concern was. But But if we could just have that confirmed that that's okay, because I don't see any, I didn't think I saw anything in the staff report on a report by mobility, which usually we see at least something.
Mobility review the documents. So yes, they review the documents and they send the letter of certification.
Okay. Okay. That seems pretty satisfactory to me. So I appreciate the discussion on this. I don't know if anybody has anything else they'd like to add at this time. I'm glad we had this discussion. I'm sorry we had to cut you off in the middle, but again, this is sometimes how these things go.
No problem.
Chairman Capuano, I just wanted to
Yes.
make the board aware that I had several conversations with Ward Councilor Matt McLaughlin about this project. He was very supportive of it. You know, he's excited to see this happen because, you know, there's 10 units, 2 of which will be affordable, you know, coming to his ward. So he, you know, is very, very excited about this. So he did want me to let the board know as he's at another meeting tonight.
Yep. I was in the meeting with him.
I figured that.
Yep. It was the joint hearing. Thank you. Ann. Okay, so does anybody have any comments or questions that they'd like to raise at this point that we haven't already discussed? I want to thank the applicant around again for sticking around to continue this discussion, and hoping we might be able to get that additional rendering of the close up of the materials for next time. But I think by and large it should be okay. It's not always the case that I agree with the urban design committee, but I might this time.
Our pleasure to be here. And do you want that we submit that to staff before the meeting, or do you want just to present it in the meeting on that?
Yeah, you give a slide that'll, you know, kind of blow up what we're looking at instead of, you know, oftentimes I think that helps people visualize what the building is actually going to look like as they're walking by it instead of across the street.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Chairman Capuano, I'll have the team submit a material board to the staff, you know, some point next week, so we have it well before the 21st. And I'm also going to discuss with the team a little more of an in-depth discussion about the net zero, just to make sure everyone's on board. And, you know, that way when we get back before you, we can go through those points. And, you know, hopefully we'll have some answers from mobility as well on a loading zone in front. Because I walked the site with the applicant about a little over a week ago, and I didn't see that bus sign there anymore. So I kind of thought the same thing, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, I go, you know, hopefully that's wide enough to hold a bus, and you know, if you can, you know, dodge traffic, you can dodge a bull. So okay, let's do this. Let's continue you folks until the 21st. I've already left the written comment period open until the 15th at noon. So for anybody that wants to supplement this discussion with written testimony, we will obviously welcome that and consider that accordingly. So with that in mind, if nobody else, anything else that they would like to add, I move to continue the discussion of 7 Washington Street to the September 21st, 2023 meeting, seconded by Jahan. Raisa, if you could please call the roll.
This is Raisa speaking. Michael Capuano,
Aye.
Jahan Habib,
Aye.
Michael McNeely,
Aye.
Luke Schuster.
That agenda item is continued. There is one other item on our agenda tonight. It's McGrath Highway, which was previously opened, but as I indicated at the beginning of the meeting, the planning board's rules and regs do not take up new agenda items after 9 o'clock to prevent for things like people being able to, you know, eat dinner and give the proper attention to the applicant and the application as it deserves, because at this point in the night, after, we've been sitting here for 3 hours discussing some heavy stuff, people's attention is not necessarily where it should be, which is why we implemented the rule about 2 years ago. So I wanted to make sure that we were able to have the robust discussion with the applicant at Washington Street that was helpful and deserved. But at this time, it's past 9 o'clock, and it's not my inclination to take up the other agenda item for which we have opened and raised that consideration. This is sometimes what happens when we have joint hearings that can run late. I mean, I remember when we used to have these meetings in person, and we would be walking out of City Hall at 11:30 at night, and all the food places were closed, and we'd go home hungry. So that's why I implemented, and the planning board voted on that rule change a few years ago. So with that in mind, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight, and I don't know if anybody else has anything that they would like to add for the good of the meeting before I move to adjourn for tonight. Okay. Seeing none, I move to two things actually. We need to continue McGrath Highway because we weren't able to take them up tonight. So the chair moved to continue discussion of, I think it's 394 McGrath Highway to the September 21st meeting, seconded by Jahan. Raisa, can you please call the roll?
This is Raisa speaking. Michael Capuano,
Aye.
Jahan Habib,
Aye.
Michael McNeely,
Aye.
Luke Schuster.
Aye.
Okay, that agenda item is continued, and the chair moves to adjourn, seconded by Jahan. Raisa?
Michael Capuano,
Aye.
Jahan Habib,
Aye.
Michael McNeely,
Aye.
Luke Schuster.
Thank you all very much. Nice to see you all again, and see you soon.
It's been a while. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.